So take your time, relax, kick off your shoes, baby. It's an all-night thing, you know this. You feel me? Let's go.
Take your time, relax, take off your shoes. Innocent words at a party or something more sinister? That's what a Manhattan courtroom is trying to determine right now. Word is, the room where that video was filmed wasn't just a party space, it was something else entirely. Let's break down what the feds are calling freak-offs and the disturbing footage now being shown to the jury. Inside the freak-offs, evidence and allegations. Hey, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what exactly these freak-offs were and why they're so central to the case against Diddy. According to the prosecution's opening statements on May 12, 2025, these freak-offs weren't just your average turn-up. They were allegedly orchestrated sexual performances that lasted for days on end. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson didn't mince words in court when she said, "You will see videos of some of the freak-offs, the videos the defendant used to blackmail Cassie and to blackmail Jane." That's some heavy accusations, no cap. The prosecution going in with mad details about these events, and it's straight disturbing if true. They claim these weren't just random hookups, but highly produced affairs, held in hotel rooms specifically set up for this purpose, stocked with drugs like ketamine, baby oil, and lubricants. The rooms was allegedly lit for filming, like a whole production studio, creating an environment where participants were put on display for Diddy's entertainment and, prosecutors claim, so he could get blackmail material on people. That's some real power play type stuff if you think about it. According to them court documents, these freak-offs involved multiple sex workers and individuals who prosecutors alleging were coerced into participation. The prosecution claims that participants was often high off that X pill, specifically ecstasy, which was allegedly given to them to make them more compliant and do things they wouldn't normally do. In the words of the prosecutor during opening statements, victims was made to put on a performance high on ecstasy while they pretend to enjoy themselves. That's a major red flag right there if we keeping it 100. But what about this ritual room got everybody talking? This where things get real interesting. The term ritual room ain't actually in the official trial documents or mainstream news reports about the case. It seems to be a name that popped up in public conversations about where these freak-offs took place, especially in the social media streets and YouTube commentary. The setup for these alleged freak-offs does give off mad ritualistic vibes though, if you really think about it. The preparation, the specific supplies, the lighting for filming, all of this points to something that was done over and over like a ritual. Remember that raid on Diddy's Los Angeles mansion I mentioned earlier? The feds finding over 1,000 bottles of baby oil ain't no coincidence. That suggests serious preparation and repetition that could definitely be seen as ritualistic. Like, who needs that many bottles of baby oil unless you're planning something specific on the regular? Make it make sense. Now let's talk about them videos themselves, which got everybody in the courtroom shook. These videos so wild and potentially damaging that prosecutors fought to seal them from public viewing. According to the reports, these videos showed the freak-offs in progress, capturing what prosecutors saying was coerced sexual performances with people who didn't want to be there but felt like they ain't have a choice. The prosecution claims these videos was used as blackmail to keep victims quiet and doing what Diddy wanted. Assistant U.S. Attorney Johnson specifically told the court that the videos was used to blackmail Cassie and to blackmail Jane. Jane being a fake name for one of the alleged victims to protect her identity. You feel me? That's that power and control type situation that abusers be using. Diddy's defense team though, they coming with a completely different story about these same videos. They saying that the videos show consensual activity among adults as part of what they describe as a swinger lifestyle. This creates a major conflict in the trial. Is what we seeing evidence of sex trafficking and forcing people to do stuff, or just grown folks doing what they want to do behind closed doors? Two completely different narratives. Diddy's legal squad has even gone so far as to claim that these videos actually prove he innocent rather than guilty. They saying what's on tape shows willing participants, not victims. This stark difference in how people viewing the same evidence is going to be what makes or breaks this case when the jury got to decide what's what. To really understand why these videos matter so much, we got to look at the bigger picture of what they saying Diddy was doing. The prosecution alleges that Diddy ran a whole enterprise that used force, threats, and coercion to make victims participate in commercial sex acts. The videos being shown as proof of this coercion and exploitation, like receipts that can't be denied. But this ain't just about some videos. It's about the whole environment where these freak-offs allegedly went down. Multiple witnesses and alleged victims have described a pattern of manipulation, threats, and violence that created an atmosphere of fear and control. The videos, prosecutors argue, are just one piece of the puzzle in this bigger system of exploitation that they claiming Diddy built around himself. Let me break down the specific charges related to these freak-offs and the videos for y'all, so we all on the same page. Prosecutors alleging that Diddy forced individuals into engaging in commercial sex acts through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. They saying the videos show these forced performances where people wasn't really wanting to participate. The prosecution claims that Diddy operated an enterprise that engaged engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, basically saying he was running a criminal organization, not just a music label, the freak-offs being presented as part of this bigger criminal operation. Diddy is accused of moving individuals across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. They saying participants in the freak-offs were sometimes transported specifically for these events, crossing state lines, which makes it a federal offense. Now, I know some of y'all thinking, if this mess was going down at Diddy's functions for years, why are we only hearing about it now with all these details? The prosecution addresses this by alleging that Diddy kept everybody quiet through threats, violence, and blackmail. They saying the videos played a key role in this system of control, like, if you talk, this video goes public type of situation. Let's get into what some witnesses and alleged victims have said about these freak-offs and the whole vibe around them. Cassie Ventura, in her lawsuit, claimed that Diddy forced her to get it on with male sex workers while he watched, filmed, and handled his business. She alleged that these encounters were all set up and controlled by Diddy, and that she was usually high during these events, not by choice. Another individual, Jonathan Oddie, claimed he had relations with Cassie while Diddy did. His thing on the side did drugs, and later Oddie caught herpes from the encounter.
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business.
These allegations connect directly to what prosecutors now calling freak-offs. Adria English, who used to be a go-go dancer, alleged in her lawsuit that she was given drugs and forced into sexual acts with guests at white parties. This pattern of alleged behavior matches up with what prosecutors now bringing to the court. Tom Swoop alleged in a YouTube video that there was sexual humiliation for money or record deals at these gatherings, including an incident where Diddy supposedly told a male pop star to perform a sexual act on a bodyguard as a joke. These allegations suggest Diddy was using sex and humiliation as ways to control people and show his power. That's some real twisted stuff if it's true. One of the hardest parts of this whole situation comes from the alleged victims. One woman who filed a lawsuit against Diddy spoke on the lasting trauma.
The violation I have experienced during the assault has had lasting effects on my body, causing ongoing health problems and complications. The combination of physical and emotional pain has created a cycle of suffering from which it is so hard to break free. I want to continue on this journey towards recovery and healing.
She added that while she's relieved Diddy is locked up, it's only temporary.
I'm glad that he is locked up, but that's a temporary feeling of relief.
The prosecution building a story of a man who used his status, money, and influence to create an environment where he could exploit people and they wouldn't be able to do nothing about it. The freak-offs are presented not as one-time things, but as part of a whole pattern of behavior going across 2 decades. 20 years of this alleged behavior. That's crazy to think about. Now, we got to keep it real and remember that these are allegations that ain't been proven in court yet. Diddy has consistently denied everything they throwing at him, and his defense team is fighting hard against the prosecution story. The trial just getting started, and there's going to be a lot more evidence coming out before we know the final verdict. But them videos, whether you call them ritual room videos or freak-off videos, are definitely going to be the key evidence that could make or break this case. The fact that prosecutors fought so hard to keep these videos sealed from public viewing tells you just how wild and sensitive they probably are. One thing's for sure though, this case gonna change how we see one of hip-hop's biggest icons forever, regardless of the outcome. The culture watching this trial closely, and whatever happens, nothing's gonna be the same after all this comes to light. The game changes when the dirt comes out. You feel me? The wildlife at Diddy's parties. Now that we understand what these freak-offs allegedly were, let's rewind the tape and see how we got here. How did Sean Diddy Combs, the man who used to have everybody wanting to be down with Bad Boy, end up in this situation facing charges that got the potential to put him under the jail? Sean Diddy Combs wasn't just known for his music and business moves. Bruh was legendary for throwing the most exclusive gatherings in entertainment. These parties, especially his white parties in the Hamptons in Miami, were the hardest invites to score in the celebrity universe. If you got that text to pull up to a Diddy function, you knew you was officially in the circle. We talking A-list celebs, ace of spades flowing like it was water, and an atmosphere of pure luxury that most people only see in movies and music videos. But according to all this research and plenty of first-hand accounts, these wasn't just your regular celebrity turn-ups. Behind all that glamour and those all-white outfits was allegedly something way darker going on after hours. Research shows that Diddy's home parties frequently involved heavy drug use, including cocaine, ecstasy, ketamine, and GHB, with allegations that some people there was coerced into sexual situations they ain't sign up for. The whole vibe at these parties allegedly switched up dramatically as the night got deeper. Let's check out some footage from a 2010 New Year's Eve party that recently came back into the spotlight. In this video, Diddy giving a prayer before everybody starts partying, surrounded by mad celebrities.
Your head and close your eyes, because we got to bless the food. You know what I'm saying? We ain't going into 2010. We got to go in the right way, being thankful and grateful. God, may you please bless us going into 2010.
In this same footage, Diddy shouting out several major artists who was in the building.
Fabulous is in the house. This is all brotherly love. My biggest brother with all the boss, Ricky Ross, is in the house.
He keeps naming more celebrities who was there.
Tiana Taylor is in the house. My brother Chris Brown. I'm going to stick with him through thick and thin. Chris Brown is in the house. You know what I'm saying? The something ain't right, so I know Chris Brown is in the house.
On the surface, it looks like just another star-studded celebration, right? But according to multiple people who was there and various sources, these parties often had a major switch-up in atmosphere after certain hours, particularly after 2 a.m., when folks started hitting them drugs harder and sexual activities became more out in the open. The phrase 5 a.m. has become significant when people talk about these parties, marking when things allegedly took a darker turn. Like if you were still there at 5 a.m., you were seeing a whole different type of party. According to multiple first-hand accounts that researchers put together, the parties had different levels of access, with the most wild activities reportedly happening in private areas or back rooms that not everybody could get into. Now, I ain't saying everybody who pulled up to a Diddy party was in on this alleged stuff or even knew about it. Many guests probably came for the regular celebration, the networking opportunities, and the clout of being able to say they was at a Diddy event and bounced before things allegedly got wild in them back rooms. One account from a former drug dealer quoted in the New York Post claimed that guests at Diddy's Hamptons parties were high on ketamine, GHB, and he witnessed celebrities getting it on in inner sanctum back bedrooms. Another person named Tom Swoop alleged in a YouTube video that there was sexual humiliation for money or record deals happening at these gatherings. This starting to paint a picture of some real dark stuff going on behind closed doors. Perhaps one of the most disturbing stories comes from Justin Latovsky, who said he attended a party at Diddy's home when he was just 6 years old and saw a lot of weed and topless women in the pool. If that's true, that's beyond problematic. That's straight up wrong on every level, having a young child at an adult party with that type of environment. Who brings a 6-year-old to a function like that? Make it make sense. Now, we can't talk about these parties without diving deeper into the concept of freak-offs that's central to Diddy's current legal situation. But what exactly was these events? According to prosecutors, freak-offs were described as days-long sexual performances involving sex workers and participants who were allegedly coerced, often under the influence of drugs. These wasn't just random hookups at parties. They was allegedly carefully planned and produced events, sometimes recorded without people knowing about it or consenting to it. Usher, who lived with Diddy as a teenager around age 15, dropped some insight into what he witnessed during this time, and it's wild to think about a kid that age being in that environment. In a 2004 Rolling Stone interview, he described being introduced to sex at Diddy's house, saying things were pretty wild, and that he witnessed orgies. Years later in 2016, Usher reflected that the experience was so intense, he wouldn't send his own kids to live with Diddy. That tells you everything you need to know right there. When someone who experienced something firsthand says they wouldn't let their own kids go through the same thing, you know it wasn't right. But there's more to this story than just some wild parties. What eventually led to Diddy facing these serious charges was the pattern of alleged behavior that prosecutors claim counted as sex trafficking and racketeering, serious federal offenses that come with serious time. The indictment against Diddy alleges that between 2004 and 2024, that's a whole 2 decades of alleged criminal activity, y'all, he orchestrated elaborate and produced sex performances known as freak-offs that involved heavy drug use and coerced sexual activities. The case really started picking up steam after Diddy's ex, Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit against him in November 2023, claiming years of abuse, including forcing her to participate in these freak-offs with male sex workers. The lawsuit was settled mad quick, like within a day, but it opened the floodgates for more accusations and investigations. That quick settlement looked suspicious to a lot of people, like he was trying to shut it down before more details came out. Then in March 2024, the feds wasn't playing no games when they raided Diddy's mansions in Los Angeles and Miami, reportedly finding supplies for these events, including over 1,000 bottles of baby oil. 1,000 bottles. That's not something you buy for normal use, period. The feds was sending a clear message with these raids that they had enough evidence to take action, and this was just the beginning. On September 16th, 2024, Diddy got picked up in New York City and hit with charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These charges got exposed expanded in March 2025 to include forced labor accusations. If he gets convicted on the sex trafficking charges alone, Diddy could be looking at a minimum of 15 years and up to life in prison. We're talking about a man who used to be on top of the world, potentially spending the rest of his life behind bars. What made these freak-offs particularly problematic in the eyes of prosecutors was the alleged element of coercion and manipulation. According to legal documents, Diddy is accused of using threats, violence, and blackmail to force participation and keep people silent about what went down. The recordings of these events, which prosecutors claim were sometimes made without consent, allegedly worked as tools for control, like, if you talk, this video goes public type of situation. It's important to note that Diddy has consistently denied everything they accusing him of. His legal team has maintained that any sexual activities were consensual between adults who knew what they was doing. Diddy pleaded not guilty to all charges and turned down a plea deal in early May 2025, choosing instead to take his chances at trial. That's either supreme confidence in his innocence or a major gamble, depending on how you look at it. The progression from them lavish white parties to federal sex trafficking charges is a stark reminder of how appearances can be deceiving. What looked like the epitome of success and excess from the outside might have been hiding something much darker beneath the surface. As this trial unfolds, we're getting a rare glimpse behind that carefully maintained facade, and what's allegedly there ain't pretty. The trial, controversy, and cultural impact. Now let's get into the trial itself, which is currently going down and has the entire entertainment world on edge. The trial of Sean Diddy Combs officially kicked off on May 5th, 2025 with jury selection in Manhattan Federal Court. Finding jurors who ain't already made up their mind about a case like this ain't easy. We talking about one of the most recognized faces in music being charged with some of the most serious crimes you can face. During the first day of jury selection, Diddy himself reportedly told the judge, "I'm a little nervous," showing a rare moment of vulnerability from a man who always presented himself as untouchable. And real talk, he should be nervous. The charges he facing could have him looking at them prison walls for the rest of his days. This ain't no slap on the wrist type of situation. This is life-changing regardless of the outcome. After a week of jury selection, they finally seated a panel of 12 jurors and 6 alternates, and opening statements began on May 12, 2025. This is where it started getting real juicy, as both sides laid out their competing stories about what the evidence actually shows and what was really going down at these alleged freak-offs. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson came out swinging hard in her opening statement, directly addressing the videos of the freak-offs that would be shown to the jury. She ain't beat around the bush, stating that these videos show victims put on a performance, high on ecstasy, while they pretend to enjoy themselves. Johnson emphasized that these videos was used as tools of control and blackmail to keep victims in line and doing what Diddy wanted. This case goes beyond just Diddy. According to one lawyer representing multiple alleged victims, there are other big names involved who haven't been identified yet.
The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're gonna make damn sure that we're right before we do that.
The lawyer dropped this bomb.
But the names that we're gonna name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you.
The prosecution painted Diddy as a predator who used his position to create a whole system of exploitation. They alleged that Diddy's operation wasn't just about sex trafficking, but also involved forced labor, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice, creating a pattern of criminal activity over 2 decades. That's a whole criminal enterprise they're accusing him of running, not just some one-off incidents. Diddy's defense team, led by attorney Mark Agnifilo, clapped back with a completely different take. They argued that the videos show consensual activity among adults as part of a swinger lifestyle. Agnifilo basically saying Diddy getting prosecuted for his lifestyle choices rather than for any actual crimes, playing the "they just don't understand our culture" card, essentially. The defense went even further, claiming that these videos actually prove Diddy innocent rather than guilty, suggesting that they show willing participants rather than coerced victims. This stark difference in how the same evidence being interpreted sets up the main conflict of the trial, and it's going to come down to which story the jury believes. Now, about that ritual room that got everybody talking. As we covered earlier, this term doesn't show up in the official court documents, but it's become a way that people online describe the settings where these freak-offs allegedly went down. The raid on Diddy's Los Angeles mansion in March 2024, where they found supplies like over 1,000 bottles of baby oil, suggests a prepared and potentially ritualistic setup for these events. That's not something you need for casual get-togethers, that's for sure. The trial expected to last several weeks, with numerous witnesses coming forward to testify about their experiences with Diddy and these alleged freak-offs. The first week of testimony testimony planned to include 2 brief witnesses, followed by a third with more extensive testimony. As the trial continues, we'll probably learn more. Explicit details about what these videos actually show and how they connect to the bigger allegations. One of the wildest aspects of this trial is how it's being received by the public and the entertainment industry as a whole. The case has generated massive media attention, with outlets providing timelines of key events and allegations. Social media have been running wild with speculation about other celebrities who might have been involved, though no specific names are actually part of the trial itself, at least not yet. You know, Twitter and TikTok detectives been working overtime trying to figure out who else might have been at these parties. The implications of this trial go way beyond just Diddy himself. It's being viewed as a test of whether power and wealth can enable decades of abuse without consequences, as suggested by coverage from ABC 7 New York. The outcome could shake up the entire entertainment industry, potentially leading to more people coming forward with allegations against other powerful figures. This could be just the tip of the iceberg, for real. There's also the question of all the potential civil lawsuits that could follow after the criminal trial wraps up. CNN reports that regardless of whether Diddy gets convicted or not in the criminal case, he could face numerous civil lawsuits from alleged victims seeking money damages. These civil cases could bring even more details to light about the alleged freak-offs and how they affected the people who participated in them, willingly or not. It's worth noting that Diddy turned down a plea deal in early May 2025, choosing instead to take his case to trial and maintain his innocence. This decision shows he either really believes he can beat these charges or he's gambling big time. But it also means that all the evidence, including them explicit videos, will be aired in court, even if the public don't get to see them directly. The controversy around this trial goes way deeper than just the legal stuff. It touches on bigger issues of power, consent, and accountability in the entertainment industry that have been problems for decades. NPR featured insights from a music executive who discussed how Diddy's case reflects larger systemic issues in the music industry, where power imbalances can enable exploitation with no consequences. This trial bringing to light conversations that have been needed in the industry for a long time. There's also a cultural dimension to this case that can't be ignored. Diddy wasn't just another rapper or producer. He was a cultural icon who helped shape hip-hop and mainstream entertainment for decades. His parties set trends, his lifestyle was what everybody aspired to, his cosign could make careers. The allegations against him force us to reevaluate that legacy and what it represents. Was it all built on exploitation? Was the success we celebrated actually coming at the expense of victims? These are uncomfortable questions, but they need to be asked. Some media outlets have even suggested connections between Diddy's case and broader conspiracies in entertainment and politics, though these remain just theories with no solid proof. What's undeniable is that this trial has become a focal point for discussions about power, exploitation, and accountability in the entertainment industry, and these conversations been long overdue. The impact on Diddy's business empire has already been substantial, with partners distancing themselves and deals falling through. But the human cost, the alleged victims and their experiences, is what should really be centered in these discussions. Their stories, if proven true, represent a profound betrayal not just by Diddy, but by an industry that may have enabled or ignored warning signs for years. As the trial unfolds in the coming weeks, we'll continue to follow the evidence and the testimony, seeking to understand the truth behind these shocking allegations. The culture is watching, the world is watching, and history being made regardless of the outcome. Diddy's recent musical collaborations include big names like Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, Mary J. Blige, and John Legend. He even partnered with actor Mark Wahlberg on a business venture. In a surprising twist, Prince Harry was mentioned as someone who has crossed paths with Diddy in a civil lawsuit filed earlier this year. However, his empire began to crumble when Cassie Ventura, his former partner, sued him last year, accusing him of and abuse. Although they quickly reached a settlement just a day after the lawsuit was filed, this bold move seemed to open the floodgates. Since then, Diddy has faced lawsuits from 11 more individuals who allege assault, sexual misconduct, and other serious crimes. After his arrest and indictment on racketeering and sex trafficking charges by federal prosecutors in Manhattan, to which he pleaded not guilty, Diddy's allies have chosen to stay quiet for now, as discussions and theories swirl around his felony charges. Many of his famous friends, colleagues, and label mates have become the subject of speculation. Old quotes about Diddy and his notorious parties have resurfaced online, drawing renewed attention. Meanwhile, photos of him with other celebrities are still making the rounds on social media, further fueling the conversation about his controversial reputation. With so much chatter happening, it seems like everyone is trying to piece together the story behind Diddy's current troubles. So far, prosecutors haven't said anything about charging other celebrities in Diddy's case, but U.S. Attorney Damian Williams mentioned that nothing is off the table. The main focus of the charges against Diddy involves what he called freak-offs, which prosecutors describe as sexual performances that he organized. These events could last for days and often involve victims and male sex workers who were trafficked illegally. Prosecutors Prosecutors also allege that Diddy not only watched the freak-offs, but also recorded them, building a strong case against him. The indictment claims that he used violence and the power of his business empire to set up these events and control the lives of his victims. Prosecutors have only shared details about one specific freak-off, which happened in a hotel room. In that instance, Cassie Ventura tried to escape, but Diddy allegedly assaulted her and dragged her back. Most of these events seem to have taken place behind closed doors, away from the wild party scene that Diddy is usually associated with. Despite the limited information, people are eager to learn more about Diddy's social circle. They want to know who still stands by him, who might be called to testify against him, and who has cut ties with the self-proclaimed bad boy for life. There's also curiosity about those who barely knew him at all. After all, a single photo doesn't really tell the whole story about someone's relationships or support system. If the celebrities connected to Diddy are listening to their PR teams, fans and onlookers might not get the answers they want anytime soon. Some people have criticized Diddy's friends and collaborators for staying conspicuously silent about his alleged behavior. However, Evan Neerman, the CEO of the crisis PR firm Red Banyan, explained that this silence is likely a smart move. The name of the game right now is distance, and the more distance they can supply between themselves, or the more distance they can create between themselves and Diddy, the better it is for them, Neerman told BI. He pointed out that there's no benefit to getting involved in the discussions around Diddy's arrest or the allegations against him. Those who have known Diddy for years should avoid this topic as much as possible to stay out of the spotlight related to his situation. Speaking publicly about Diddy during this critical time, whether to condemn him or defend him, would tie that person's brand to Diddy's serious allegations. According to Neerman, in the public's eyes, they would be associated with the scandal, no matter how close they actually are to Diddy. Even issuing a statement to distance themselves might backfire, drawing more attention and scrutiny to their own involvement. It's in their interest not to weigh in and not to call attention to themselves if they want to avoid being unfairly tarnished by this, Neerman said. Eric Schiffer, another crisis PR expert and chairman of Reputation Management Consultants, echoed this sentiment. He suggested that discussing Diddy should be off limits in interviews or public appearances. This approach, according to him, is crucial for maintaining their brands and ensuring their safety. I wouldn't let them be asked about it, Schiffer told BI. He pointed out that there is a mix of fear among celebrities and their teams about how their brands might suffer from any connection to Diddy. There's also concern that Diddy could retaliate against them personally. A federal judge has ordered Diddy to remain in jail while awaiting trial after prosecutors raised concerns that he might interfere with the investigation. The judge cited Diddy's alleged history of violence, telling him in court, "I don't know that you can control yourself." If Diddy does not plead guilty, a trial is expected to occur in about a year, which would likely include testimony from his employees, Cassie Ventura, and other potential victims. Prosecutors can subpoena people in Diddy's circle to testify under oath about what they witnessed, while Diddy may call on friends to testify in his defense. Until then, celebrities mentioned in connection with him have no obligation to comment on his legal troubles. Neerman noted that Diddy hasn't been convicted yet, which makes it even riskier for others to enter the conversation. "I would advise against a rush to judgment just because everyone is entitled to their day in court and everyone is innocent until proven guilty," Neerman said. Although it looks bad for Diddy right now, and there are serious concerns, the situation is still unfolding. Recently, Usher made headlines when he deleted all his posts on X, formerly Twitter, which many found suspicious, especially given his long history with Diddy. Shortly after, Usher claimed that his account had been hacked and that the public ran with it. However, Schiffer noted that the damage was already done. "It's a giant red flag, and it brings up the whole concept of the Streisand effect, where in the attempt to try to hide information, you're only bringing more attention to it," he explained, referring to the idea that trying to suppress information often leads to more attention. Neerman agreed, saying he wouldn't advise a client to scrub their social media in this situation because it raises more questions than it answers. Imagine if nothing had changed, and he was as active as he'd normally been and was posting about the typical material, no one would have even noticed, Neerman said. "It definitely raises eyebrows and makes you focus more if your account suddenly is wiped clean." He added that claiming to be hacked is a played-out tactic that many fans might not believe. At this point, with limited information available to the public, the advice from both Neerman and Schiffer is clear. Don't engage, don't draw attention to yourself, and don't jump to conclusions. You're at the mercy of how the prosecutor is going to play this. There likely will be other charges, Schiffer said, so you want to allow it to roll out, and you never know what Diddy's going to do. As more details unfold about Diddy's situation, it's becoming clear that the challenges he's facing are far more serious than just legal trouble. The real dangers Diddy faces. Former inmate Larry Levine has shared that Diddy isn't eating while in jail, based on information from a source close to the investigation. The reasons for this are not entirely clear. Levine suggested that Diddy might be feeling paranoid and fearful that someone could poison his food. Another possibility is that he could be on a hunger strike to protest his situation. Alternatively, it might just be that he's unhappy with the food served in jail. There are people out there that he has things on that do have a substantial amount of money. Imagine if someone paid someone off on the inside to actually poison his food, give him a heart attack, and he dies, and no one would really think anything of it. So that may be one of the reasons he's not eating, Levine told News Nation. In any case, Diddy's refusal to eat raises concerns about his well-being. When someone in a high-pressure situation like this stops eating, it can indicate serious stress or anxiety. This isn't just about the food. It reflects how Diddy is coping with the reality of being behind bars and facing serious legal troubles. According to an AP report, Diddy is currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, which is the only federal jail in New York City. The facility has a reputation for being a tough place to be, often described as hell on earth and an ongoing tragedy. Since it opened in the 1990s, MDC has faced numerous issues that have raised concerns about its living conditions. Recently, the situation at the jail has become so dire that some judges have chosen not to send inmates there. Reports indicate that overcrowding, lack of proper medical care, and poor sanitation have contributed to the facility's troubled reputation. These conditions can be incredibly challenging for inmates, adding to the stress and anxiety they already experience. For someone like Diddy, who has lived a life of luxury and comfort, adjusting to life in such a harsh environment must be difficult. The reports of the jail's conditions make it clear that Diddy is facing significant challenges while he awaits his trial. This kind of environment can take a toll on anyone's mental and physical health, especially for someone not accustomed to such circumstances. The Federal Bureau of Prisons, in a statement, said they are committed to addressing the staffing and other issues at MDC Brooklyn. They mentioned that a team is working to resolve problems by hiring permanent correctional and medical staff, tackling over 700 pending maintenance requests, and addressing concerns raised by judges. MDC in Brooklyn has held several high-profile inmates, adding to its notoriety. Among its current detainees are figures like Sam Bankman-Fried, Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, and rapper Fetty Wap. These individuals, like Diddy, are dealing with their own legal battles while facing the harsh conditions of the jail. Over the years, MDC has also housed some notable former inmates, including Pharma Bro Martin Shkreli, NXIRM sex cult founder Keith Raniere, former Mexican government official Chenaro Garcia Luna, and ex-Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez Alvarado. The presence of such well-known figures highlights MDC's role in holding influential and controversial individuals as they await trial or serve time. However, contrary to Levine's claims, it has been reported that Diddy is being served breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just like other inmates. It was reported that the first meal Diddy enjoyed while in jail was Swedish meatballs. That's what he had for dinner following his arraignment. This was reported by the New York Post based on the MDC menu they got their hands on. According to the report, he also had the option of a vegetarian black bean burger if he preferred something meat-free. It's a suitable meal if he's watching his weight. For breakfast, Diddy can pick from options like fruit, cereal, or breakfast cake. When it comes to lunch and dinner, his meals are pretty basic, featuring things like black-eyed peas, pasta with marinara sauce, or cheese pizza. He can also enjoy prison favorites like beef or chickpea tacos, but those are only available on Saturdays. Along with the main dish, he had choices for sides, which included egg noodles, green beans, a garden salad with dressing, and a 16 ounces beverage. The food Diddy is getting in jail is a huge change from the fancy lifestyle he's used to as a music mogul, where he has a personal chef cooking for him. Plus, this prison menu is nothing like the wild times he had, like when he famously ate strawberries off a naked woman at one of his notorious white parties. Apart from that, he now has to get adopted to a new way of life. His day starts with a wake-up call at 6 a.m., as former warden Cameron Lindsay told TMZ. After that, Diddy will need to make his own bed and even mop the floor of his cell. Every day, he'll get 1 hour of recreational time, which is his chance to get some fresh air and stretch his legs. He can also shower 3 times a week. Friends and family are allowed to visit him from time to time, but his lawyers will be coming in more often to help with his case. Right now, Diddy is staying in the jail's Special Housing Unit, SHU, which means he's separated from the general population. The SHU is a protected unit where Diddy is, under suicide watch, although his lawyers have claimed that he is not suicidal. On September 17th, Diddy's lawyers, Mark Agnifilo and Tenny R. Giragos, submitted a bail proposal arguing that the conditions at the Brooklyn detention facility where Diddy is being held are unfit for pre-trial detention. They described the conditions as horrific, emphasizing that the facility is not a suitable place for someone awaiting trial. Their proposal might stem from their knowledge of violence that has characterized the facility. Earlier this year, an inmate, Uriel White, was reported stabbed to death while awaiting trial on gun charges. In their proposal, they suggested that Diddy be allowed to stay at his home in Florida under strict conditions. The plan included 24/7 security monitoring, with a team responsible for for overseeing a pre-approved guest list. The goal was to ensure tight control over who could visit him while he awaited trial. Unfortunately, the judge ultimately denied Diddy's bail request for the second time, meaning he will remain in custody at the Brooklyn facility until his next court appearance. Meanwhile, the arrangement of placing Diddy at SHU is likely for his safety, because some inmates might see attacking a high-profile inmate like Diddy as a way to gain respect or status among other prisoners, according to Lindsay. His huge celebrity status and the allegations of violence against women make him a very attractive target for assault. Lindsay's assertion about the dangers Diddy faces in jail is consistent with the views of an expert. Christopher Zukis from the Criminal Center has warned that Diddy's life could be in danger behind bars as he awaits trial on charges of human trafficking and racketeering. This comes after he was twice denied bond, forcing him to remain in custody. Zukis pointed out the potential threat posed by West Coast gang members who may want to avenge the 1996 death of Tupac Shakur. If you are a persona non grata for a certain gang or group, Zukis told In Touch, there are people who will go out of their way to do something bad to you. Tupac was assassinated in 1996, just after a Mike Tyson fight and following an altercation with Orlando Anderson. Around 11 p.m. on Las Vegas Boulevard, a white Cadillac pulled up next to Tupac's car, and the shooter fired rapidly through the window, hitting Shakur 4 times. Despite years of investigation, the suspects have never been brought to justice. However, a new development came in November 2023 when Dwayne Davis was arrested and charged in connection with Tupac's murder. Davis has pleaded not guilty, and the case remains ongoing. Zukis' warning about Diddy's safety behind bars has been echoed by Robert Stratton, a convicted drug smuggler who also commented on the situation in an interview with In Touch. Both believe that Diddy's high-profile status and the unresolved issues surrounding Tupac's murder could make him a target, adding even more complexity to his situation while awaiting trial. Gangs are very powerful, even in the most secure prisons, Stratton, writer of Defending Alice, said to the outlet. It would be possible to get to him, but it would take cooperation with prison guards, like in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. Though Diddy has not been officially connected to Tupac's murder, rumors and theories surrounding the rivalry between East Coast and West Coast rap have persisted for years. With Diddy now in a vulnerable position, Zukis believes that some might see this as an opportunity to settle old scores. This adds another layer of danger to Diddy's already precarious situation in jail, facing serious charges, tough conditions at MDC, and the possibility of threats from gangs. Diddy's time behind bars is shaping up to be a period of intense stress and risk. As Diddy's legal troubles intensify and his time behind bars grows more perilous, unsettling revelations about his dark past continue to surface. More shocking revelations about Diddy's dark secrets. The accusations against Diddy for human trafficking and racketeering may have taken an even more dramatic turn. A former bodyguard for the disgraced music mogul has claimed that Diddy kept videos of his infamous freak-off events, fueling suspicions that he may have been running a scheme similar to Jeffrey Epstein's alleged sextortion operations. The freak-offs are said to have involved days-long sexual performances, often fueled by drugs. Diddy is accused of controlling and coercing women into engaging in these acts against their will, forcing them to sleep with other men. These events reportedly involved high-profile figures from the music industry, raising concerns that Diddy may have used the recordings to blackmail or manipulate participants. The parallels drawn between Diddy's alleged actions and Epstein's reported behavior are troubling. Much like Epstein, who was accused of using compromising material to control society's elite, Diddy is now suspected of keeping these recordings to wield power over others. David Gelman, a New Jersey-based defense attorney and former prosecutor, told Fox News Digital that Diddy, like Jeffrey Epstein, is extremely rich and powerful, and now faces serious allegations involving sex trafficking and sexually deviant acts against women and possibly minors. He pointed out the striking similarities between the two cases, adding that there are only so many wealthy and powerful individuals in the U.S. Gelman also said he wouldn't be surprised if information surfaces showing that Epstein and Diddy had crossed paths, given Epstein's long history of criminal involvement, even though he's been dead for several years. This twist has heightened the stakes in the ongoing legal case, casting a dark shadow over the music industry and those connected to Diddy's inner circle. More and more claims are coming out. Diddy was secretly taping his freak-offs, an insider told RadarOnline.com. It's starting to add fuel to the fire he was running a sextortion ring, or at least using his tapes and party secrets to exert a lot of his influence on the rich and powerful. The same applies to Epstein, as there is now a lot of evidence suggesting he was working as an international spy, gathering sex tapes to blackmail some of the world's most powerful people. Even years after Epstein's death, questions about his rumored client list still linger. Earlier this year, thousands of pages of court documents were released, naming a host of A-list celebrities, wealthy businessmen, and other influential figures connected to him. However, the documents offered little in terms of concrete accusations against these individuals, with many of the names simply mentioned in passing. The singer of I'll Be Missing You, a triple platinum track in the United States, has been deemed both a public risk and someone who might attempt to flee the country to evade justice for his alleged crimes. Diddy is set to appear in U.S. District Court on Wednesday, October 9th, after pleading not guilty to the charges against him. During this appearance, he will request bond once again. Since the scandal erupted, numerous claims and speculations about various celebrities have emerged. Two names that have gone viral in connection with Diddy are Jay-Z and Beyonce. The buzz intensified when a video surfaced on TikTok, suggesting a connection among the three celebrities, further fueling public interest and scrutiny. The video making the rounds also found its way onto X, where it was reshared with a caption that read, "I usually don't believe in conspiracy theories, but this is crazy." The viral clip initially showcased the birth dates of the three celebrities: November 4th for Diddy, September 4th for Beyonce, and December 4th for Jay-Z. It then included a photo from a party hosted by Diddy on July 4th, 2020, along with references to Beyonce's studio album titled 4 and Jay-Z's track 444. The repeated mention of the number 4 in relation to Beyonce, Diddy, and Jay-Z has certainly raised eyebrows and piqued curiosity among viewers. The TikTok video also pointed out three well-known artists who have sadly passed away: Aaliyah, Lisa Lopez, and Michael Jackson. In the video, there were hints suggesting that Jay-Z and Beyonce might have been involved in something suspicious, and it quickly gained 7.8 million views. The background music featured J. Cole's song She Knows, and the names Sean, Jay-Z's real name, and Knowles were circled in the video. Some viewers think that She Knows sounds a lot like Sean and Knowles. Others speculate it could also refer to Sean as in Sean Diddy Combs. The video included images of Aaliyah, Michael Jackson, and Left Eye, which added to the intrigue. To make things even more mysterious, the song She Knows was removed from YouTube due to legal issues. All of these only fueled the online chatter and theories connecting these artists to Diddy and each other. A common thread among the late stars is that they all died on the 25th of their respective months. Some people online speculate that Beyonce didn't want Aaliyah to get more publicity than her, leading them to claim that Beyonce and others might have been involved in Aaliyah's death. However, it's mere speculation, as there's no evidence to support the claims. Nevertheless, the detail has led netizens to make other speculations about possible connections between these artists and the trio currently in the spotlight. As discussions unfold, users on X have been eager to share their theories. One user commented, "Like the dates being the same? What are the chances, WTF?" Indeed, the lines between synchronicity and manipulation are blurring, commented another netizen. Here are more popular responses found on X. "Nothing's ever a coincidence. The conspiracy is basically the Illuminati decides who to replace and when. They're all being born on the same day, and they replaced the previous three who all died on the same day," added a tweet. Beyonce's Instagram page has been buzzing with comments from fans trying to connect her to Diddy ever since his arrest on September 16th. People are eager to find any links between the superstar and the music mogul. Some rumors even claimed that Beyonce was losing millions of followers on Instagram because of the Diddy scandal. However, these claims weren't true. According to Social Blade, her follower count has actually been declining gradually since March 2024, long before the Diddy situation erupted. Many fans are curious if Beyonce is aware of the allegations against Diddy and have been asking her directly in the comments. They seem to be looking for any response or sign that she might know more than what's publicly known. Shortly after Diddy's arrest, another rumor popped up, saying that Jay-Z's house had been raided. This rumor started on TikTok and quickly spread across YouTube, but it turned out to be false. Despite all the chatter and speculation online, there's been no mention of either Jay-Z or Beyonce in the legal documents related to Diddy's case. But will other associates of Diddy get pulled into these legal battles? It's still uncertain. However, it wouldn't be the first time someone close to Combs faced legal trouble. After the notorious nightclub shooting in New York in 2001, Diddy's former protege, Moses Shine Barrow, ended up serving 10 years in prison. Diddy, on the other hand, was acquitted of any charges related to the shooting. This history makes it possible that others in his circle could also face legal consequences as the current case unfolds. Diddy's situation reveals the dark side of a famous personality embroiled in legal troubles. As Jay-Z reveals, even the powerful fear what lies ahead. Click the card that appears on your screen for more videos.